Thank you very much, Dr. Yogesh C Shah, for giving me an opportunity to be one of the participants of this lovely instruction course, which we have been probably running for the third time in All India Ophthalmological Society, and it's arousing more and more interest because it's something which we all need to learn. So I will be touching mainly on the anterior segment surgery. Primarily cataract, my presentation is restricted for the cataract surgery, and to a small extent I will touch upon smartphone usage in our day-to-day practice. Now let's understand first of all what is the importance of the video recording. Learning one's own mistake. I think this is something which I would emphasize the maximum, because I suggest that the moment we have ended up into some kind of a complication in any surgery, whatever may be your seniority, it is the best option that you go back, see your videos, and I assure you there will be some point you will always pick up from this. And the same goes for teaching. Presentation in the conference is okay, fine, we have all understood, and I think Dr. Tarjani has already advocated that counseling is one part which is best done by video photography and still photography. Of course, you can load it on YouTube, Facebook, etc. And one important thing which we need to understand, that today, medico-legally also, this evidence has been accepted as legal evidence for proving yourself for whatever the medico-legal problem it may be. Probably this part we may not touch much, because all of you know that we have two kinds of recording, one through the microscope and another is the external video recording, which we practically see in all live surgeries. And the equipment we have is also something which we have understood. I will skip over this particular slide for want of time, so that we have more time to discuss the things in detail. Now let us understand, when you buy a microscope, it's an important thing that you need to understand what exactly the technology that particular company is going to give you, because everybody keeps on telling you that my microscope is abrasion free. Now abrasion free is different entity altogether, and 100% true apochromatic microscope is different altogether. When you have 100% true apochromatic microscope, all the light beams, all 7 different colors will be focused at single one point, and that will give you the best recording for various kinds of colors that you obtain, but not abrasion free things which you can see over here in the other diagrams. Objective lens, primarily, at least as far as I am concerned, 15 years ago, I always used to understand that the only thing that the objective lens has a role to play is giving me a working distance, that is between my cornea and the microscope, lower part of the microscope, so that I can maneuver the instruments without touching the microscope. That was the only concern about the focal length and other thing. But today we have various diameters also available. The idea, concept is, once you have a larger diameter, it automatically captures more light. Today we have multiple things associated with the microscope, like a beam splitter, wherein one tube is going for the observer, the second one may be going for the recording, so on and so forth. So in such case, the quantum of light which is coming to the microscope and getting splitted becomes an important part, and hence this is something which you need to look at, besides of course the focal length of this particular lens, which will allow you the working distance for the microscope. The second improvement which came up in the microscope is, most of the microscopes are basically having 2 beam paths. That means you will have 1 beam path and the second beam path, but some of the microscopes, Leica for example is one, where there are 4 beam paths. These 2 beam paths are primarily for the surgeon, and the other 2 beam paths are for the assistant scope, as well as from that you can have a recording. In other words, 100% of the light coming through this beam path is deviated to the surgeon without having any compromise in the quantum of the light. This is important when I come to the true stereo coaxial system, wherein we will see that the quantum of light gets compromised. If you have a true stereo coaxial, such kind of system will always help you over that. There is something like 2-degree rotation, which is not actually true stereocoaxial. I will come to that a little later. When you look at true stereocoaxial, quite a few companies will tell you that I have true stereocoaxial. What do they understand by this? You have incident ray from one oculus, you have incident ray from the second oculus, and both of them they fuse to give you one emergent ray, as you can see over here. But this is really speaking not 100% true stereocoaxial, because this is really speaking not 0 degree. It's something like 2 degrees. But if you look at over here, you have one oculus where this is the incident ray, and the emerging ray is also having the same path. It is exactly the same path that the emerging ray has. The incident and the emerging ray have no angle of deviation whatsoever. This is 100% true stereocoaxiality. And just like any other linear form, as we have understood more effectively probably in our phacoemulsification surgery, you can go ahead and have a linear mode. You can magnify, the amplitude of stereocoaxiality can be increased or reduced by rotating this particular node, so that you can have fusion of the oblique as well as 100% stereocoaxiality of various degrees that you need at any given point of time in the surgery. I think this part I will leave for Dr. Gaurav Shah, because he will be covering this more effectively, but it is an excellent arrangement of AVI tube, which is used for video recording. He is going to cover it, so I need not. Now I have 4 minutes of presentation of videos. I am sure that this is going to clear your doubt. This is the video recording which you can see by a standard microscope. It is of the same company, a standard microscope of that company, and here is an advanced microscope. You can see a little bit of a difference, but in a moment when I use 100% stereocoaxiality, this is the picture. Obviously, if you have this kind of a picture, your confidence is going to be so great while doing capsular axis. This especially is very useful when you have a cortical cataract like this, because it is a cortical cataract which will have a diffused red reflex. It will not allow a clear red reflex, and you cannot see the margin of the axis very clearly. But moment you have 100% stereocoaxiality like this, you will be very confident in doing your capsular axis at this point of time. We often know that the patient keeps on moving the eye. This is in a standard microscope. When you look at this, when the eye is being moved, at some point of time red reflex is coming in between. But at other point of time, you don't have any red reflex. But moment you have 100% stereocoaxial reflex, you can see that the red reflex remains all throughout in whichever direction I move the eye, there is always a red reflex. And this is what I was referring to by 2-degree deviation, which some companies give you and tell you that it is a true stereocoaxiality. It is not so. If you look at it, this picture, when the eye is in center, pointing towards the microscope, both plus 2-degree mirror as well as minus 2-degree mirror, their image is coming out from the pupillary area. And because of this, you will always have an excellent red reflex. But moment the eye tilts to some extent, as you can see it over here, this beam is going in but not coming out through the pupil. And hence it is not actually the binocular fusion which you are having, and that is why you cannot have 100% true stereocoaxiality, as you can see it in this picture. Now, look at this. This is actually the recording, one of our fellow students is doing this kind of a surgery. If you have this kind of a picture, how do you teach him? How do you make him sure that your insertion? But moment we change over to the microscope, he will be 100% confident that he is going to introduce the lens right in the capsular bag. Unfortunately, in our country, we don't have the beginners, don't have a capacity to go on for a higher end microscope. Experienced surgeon probably can comfortably do the surgery without having an excellent microscope. But the students need it more, but it's not available. The only unfortunate part which I want you to learn, look at this video. Here, I have produced round PCR. Now, why does this happen? This is important for you all to learn. when I am going to use a 100% stereo coaxial system, my depth perception is going to go down. Depth of focus and depth of perception are two different things. When you have depth of focus, everything is focused right from the cornea up to the posterior capsule. But you cannot perceive how deep you are. A common example is if you are standing at the swimming pool, you can see the bottom of the swimming pool very clearly, the lines very clearly. But you cannot judge whether it is 5 feet or 4 feet or 8 feet deep. Exactly the same thing has happened over here. I could not realize that I have gone too close to the posterior capsule and created this punch hole in the posterior capsule. This is what you need to remember, that when you are doing a stereo coaxial system, 100% stereo coaxial, you will lose depth perception. And hence, I suggest that use it during capsular access or during the hydro procedure, because that is the time when depth perception is not required. But in actual phacoemulsification, nucleus management or a cortical management, where you need this kind of a thing, do not do it. And this is the last video. It's very interesting. Look at this. This is without stereo coaxial system. That's what you need to do when you are managing your epinucleus or the nucleus. It's a soft cataract which I am doing, and I feel that I have a PCR. Right? This definitely looks like a PCR. We went ahead and shifted the cortex from there, went into stereo coaxial system, and look at this port. This cannot be PCR. This obviously, you can never have the posterior capsule in this configuration, as you can see it over here. This obviously was actually just the fold of the epinucleus. We went ahead with this, with the phacoemulsification, because we were quite sure that it is definitely not PCR, and this will get confirmed in a short time. You can still see the same thing, and as I am removing this epinucleus, you will see that there is no PCR, it was only the fold of the epinucleus. Now this is what I say, that you believe what you see. If you have excellent microscope and excellent recording, you will be much more confident in your surgery. And finally, just 1 minute I will take. We have here Dr. Biju Raju. It is the second generation friendship. His father is a very dear friend of mine. Couple of years back, maybe about 5-6 years back, I just started my second center, a peripheral center. This was my very first day, and his father, Raju, happened to be with me, and he said that, why don't you use your smartphone? You are in a peripheral center, and these are the first photographs which we have taken, as you can see it here with the smartphone. The grade of the nucleus, you can judge very clearly in this particular picture. This is the posterior capsule, anterior capsule, I'm sorry. Okay. The corneal ulcer which we had seen that day, you can easily make out the posterior subcapsular cataract which the patient has over here. The posterior capsular opacification is very clearly seen over here. The anterior chamber lens can be demonstrated very clearly. The inflammatory reaction, you can see the pigments on the endothelium of the cornea and the swelling of the cornea, which is very clearly seen over here with some amount of cellular reaction which you see. These were a couple of the first day pictures which we had taken. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
let's now, after having seen the wonderful presentation by Dr. Devdulal as to how we can go about the recording procedure, the first thing which hits us if we have to set up our own recording system is what all we need to buy and how do we really set up a smooth process so that our video recordings are recorded, archived, stored, edited, and we will discuss some of the points in that. So let's understand the whole process. The process is that we have a surgery going on and the input here will be through the surgical microscope. So a good surgical microscope is always the best thing because that is what is going to give the image to the camera. Now, we have to mount this camera to the surgical microscope, and the way this is done is through a beam splitter and a adapter, or as it is often called, a C-mount. So what is a beam splitter? This thing in the microscope which is coming in between the objective lens and the surgeon's eyepiece, this is a beam splitter which splits the incoming light into two beams. It allows majority of the light, usually about 80%, to go to the surgeon's eye, and the remaining 20% is split into these knobs on the side. Now, to this knob, you can attach an adapter or a C-mount. That is nothing but an adapter which will allow the camera of your choice to be fit onto the beam splitter. And so by default it is easy to understand that your C-mount would depend on the type of camera that you are using. We will discuss in detail about the various types of cameras available. Now, once this camera is fit onto the surgical microscope, it is receiving the signals of the surgery, and there will be an exit where the signals from the camera will be coming out. And we will discuss again whether these are analog signals or digital signals and how do we process them. Whatever signal is coming out, that is essentially the surgical video, we need to save those videos, and this is a raw file, that means unedited. Your whole surgery most of the times you will be recording. You need to store these various files for future. Then we need to edit them. Suppose if we want to present it in AIOS, then we need to make it into an 8-minute video, or depending on whatever clip we are showing in our presentation. So this editing is nowadays done in the digital format in the computer. And finally, depending on where we are going to publish it, we will do the rendering. And we will see what we mean by rendering and publishing as well. So going to it step by step, the first thing that we need to buy is a surgical microscope camera. And just like when angiography was initially analog and subsequently digital, and now everything has become digital photography, digital fundus fluorescein angiography, similarly the analog cameras are on its way out. In the present era, I don't think any of us would go ahead and buy an analog camera or should buy an analog camera. However, all those who are already having an analog camera on their microscopes, what we need to understand is that the signal which is coming out of this camera is an analog signal. And in the past, how were we editing these videos? We used to take two VCRs, play from one and copy onto the other. So we were doing editing on an analog signal itself. Those systems are also not available now, so compulsorily we have to do digital editing on the computer. Now if the output from the camera is analog, we need to convert that analog signal into a digital signal, and this is commonly done by what is called as a TV tuner card. If you would have seen that there are many people who want to watch television on their computers, so they fit a TV tuner card which converts the analog signal of the television media into digital signals of the computer. If it is a digital camera, of course the output will be directly digital and you can directly take it onto a computer.
We have 10 minutes left.
Okay. So going on to the advantages of digital cameras, there is minimum deterioration in quality during recording and editing. That's the main advantage. Disadvantage is it takes up a lot of space. So just recording 1 hour of a retina video will pick up 12 GB of space. And how do we store so much of raw data of the surgical videos? And we will see the options about that again. Again, in digital cameras, we used to have the 1 chip versus 3 chip. Again, now most of the people use a 3 chip camera. It requires slightly more light and is marginally costlier than the 1 chip camera. But I think it's minor difference, and hence 3 chip digital cameras have become the norm. The things have been improvised so that now we have the cameras directly integrated with the microscope. We don't have to worry about taking a beam splitter, a C-mount, attaching the camera and then making the adjustments that this is a retina surgery, so what should be the settings, or this is a cataract surgery and what should be the camera settings. Most of the newer microscopes now come with integrated cameras. They have started coming with the 3 chip digital high definition cameras. And they have just the button, you press the button for anterior segment surgery or the posterior segment surgery. What do we mean by HD or high definition cameras? All cameras being digital, again there is a resolution, the number of pixels which are compressed onto the picture. Up till now, we routinely used to have the SD or the standard definition, whereas in high definition, you get a much sharper, high resolution images which brings the view very close to reality. The 3 common type of HD cameras which are available specifically for the surgical microscope in the market are the ones from Sony, the ones from Ikegami, and the so-called non-branded HD camera, the best among which, as mentioned by Dr. Devdulal, is the OIC from a Korean company. But you can see that the cameras itself, which are HD, would range from a cost of about 6 to 8 lakhs to even more, being the branded ones, to something as low as 28,000 rupees, which is giving you everything. The non-branded one would be a high definition 3 chip digital camera, which you can directly mount onto the beam splitter and C-mount of your surgical microscope. We Indians are very famous for our jugaad, right? So, suppose if we don't have this HD cameras and we already have our existing SLR camera, the Nikon, the Canon, the regular SLR cameras, all you have to do is remove the front lens, and a special C-mount or an adapter is available which will allow you to fix this SLR camera onto your beam splitter. So this is the beam splitter, and this has a special C-mount with lenses inside it which will help the image focus onto the digital camera. So in such cases, the digital cameras usually cost around 30,000 rupees, and this specialized C-mount is again available for another 30,000 rupees. So in 60,000 rupees you have a HD recording facility. From this camera you can have one output going to the television. Again, this will be a HDMI output, so you will see a high definition picture of the surgery in your operation theater, and you can directly store the videos in the memory card or the SD card, which you can input into the video into the SLR camera. The second thing is again a jugaad. You already have a handicap video recording system, again which records in HD mode, and you again can have a special C-mount created which fits onto the beam splitter on one side and onto the handicap camera on the other side. This is even a possibly cheaper option because handicaps of good qualities are available for about a cost of 20,000 rupees, and this C-mount is available for approximately 8,000 rupees. So it's something like a 28,000 rupee investment. Besides your microscope, you already have a high definition recording system available. Again, the storage and transmission to a high definition TV is similar to the previous camera. So as we are discussing, we basically need a beam splitter to which we attach a video adapter. So video adapter on one side fits onto the beam splitter, and on the other side it has a cavity to which we can fit the camera. We also have some Indian companies which are manufacturing a integrated beam splitter with a integrated C-mount and the camera. So just in a single unit, we have everything integrated, but we still don't have it in the HD format. Coming to the video adapter, as Dr. Yogesh Shah was mentioning, the video adapter is the connection between the beam splitter and the camera, and some advanced video adapters are available which will allow you to independently separate out the focusing, the XY and the amount of light going inside the camera. What do I mean by that? Often we see that the surgeon while operating is able to see the whole eye, but on the camera, on the television, only a central part of that field is seen. So sometimes the area of interest of surgery is in the periphery. The surgeon is still able to see it, but on the recording it is going on the top of the screen and it is getting cut off. So an instrument like this will be able to zoom out the image and bring that area of image into presence in the surgical video. Again, suppose if the surgeon has a refractive error, then his focusing might be different from the focusing which is required to have a crisp video. And this will allow for independent focusing in the iris. So, usually in such a setup, what happens is that besides the surgeon, there will be an assistant on the side who will all the time keep on monitoring what is seen on the television screen, and without disturbing the surgeon can independently manage the focusing, the field of view and the contrast and other aspects, and this can also be controlled with the help of a remote control. This tube is available in US by an Israeli scientist called as AVI. Now, we have got the surgical video from the camera which is going out. As I said, if it is analog, then you use a TV tuner card to convert it into a digital signal. If it is a digital camera, you directly use a HDMI cable and take a digital output.